Hello and welcome back to Programming at the Forge. We'll be introducing a few new things this week so you can start writing more complex and useful programs. But first, let's talk about a new type of collection called a dictionary. Remember, collections are more or less containers that store collections of data. The two you're most familiar with now are lists and tuples. Dictionaries are similar to lists in the sense that they can be indexed and changeable. However, unlike lists, they are not ordered, nor are they necessarily indexed by a default number. Remember 0, 1, 2, 3 like lists? Dictionaries are organized by what are called key-value pairs. Every item in a dictionary consists of a key-value pair. A key is essentially the name of the index, so instead of the default 0, 1, 2, 3 that we have in a list, we can name it whatever we want. The value is simply whatever data exists at that key or index. Let's look at an example. Let's pretend we're writing a program to store information about movies. We'll call this dictionary Movie Info and assign it a new dictionary. The syntax for making a dictionary is the curly braces. We'll do something a little different here and not declare a whole dictionary on one line. Remember, to flow with the zen of Python, we want to make our code as readable as possible. So let's hit enter to bring this closing curly brace down and in line with the name of the dictionary. Now I have some nice clear space to write my key value pairs. Let's start with the title of the movie. We'll make the string title as our key. All you need to separate the key and the value is a colon. Now we'll provide the title key with a value of Star Wars Episode 4: A New Hope. Remember, an item is a key and value combined, so this whole first line is our first item in the dictionary. To separate and make more items, we do the same thing we do in lists and just end it with a comma. Next, let's make a key called year and give it an integer value of 1977. And to wrap up this little demonstration, we'll add one last key called director and assign it the value of George Lucas. And there we have a nifty little dictionary we can refer to. Accessing values in a dictionary is as easy as referring to the key name. Let's print movie info director and see George Lucas pop up on the console. Dictionaries have a method called .get that will produce this same result. And changing values works the same way as it does in lists. If we wanted to change the title of the movie in movie info, we just refer to the title key and assign it a new value, like so. And adding items is a cinch. All you need to do is refer to a new key that doesn't already exist and assign it a value. Let's add an actor key and give it the value Mark Hamill. I can use a for loop to go through the dictionary items one by one. And just like a list, I'll say for I in movie info, print I. Now this will print all the key names one by one. It's important to note that the default behavior when iterating over a dictionary is to assign the iterating variable, or I in this case, the key names. And because of this, if I wanted to print all the values, I'd have to do something like print movie info at I. Now you can change that default behavior by using the .values method in the for loop statement. For I in movie info .values will assign the values to I instead. So now you can just print I and get all the values. To get entire items or keys plus values, use the .items method. Be careful though, you'll need to provide two iterating variables to your for loop if you want to do that. For example, for I and E in movie info.items, print I and E. You can remove items using the .pop method and referencing the key name. For example, movieinfo.pop actor will remove that item. And these are the basics of dictionary use. Check out the link in the description to experiment with other methods and ways of manipulating dictionaries. But the next thing I want to introduce is something called the input function. This little tool will be a lot of fun to play with as it will allow you to start writing interactive programs. The input function will stop a program in its tracks and wait for the user to provide input. Let's revisit an old and familiar program where we wrote a simple greeting. We'll start by printing a simple statement, hello. Now let's pretend this is the computer saying hello to us through the console. After the computer says hello, let's write an input statement to see what happens. Notice how the computer stopped and I was able to type something in the console. Except this was a rather short conversation. Let's make it more interesting. After my first input, let's have the computer introduce itself by printing, "My name is Mac. What's yours?" Now here we have a dilemma. If we want the computer to remember our response here, we'll need to save it in a variable. Let's make a variable called name and assign it the result of an input function. Afterwards, we'll have the computer say, "Nice to meet you," and then concatenate the variable name. And look at that! You and your computer are now on a first name basis. The input function returns whatever you type in as a string. It's very important to remember that input always returns a string. So if you plan on doing any math with what you get back from input, make sure to convert it to the proper data type first. And that's it for the input function. Getting input and saving it in variables that you can manipulate is an incredibly powerful combo. Remember though, with great power comes great responsibility. I hope you enjoy utilizing these new tools in your programs this week, and I'll see you next time in the Forge.